So sadly, negativity seems to be the new normal. So my advice at this point is about to be, if you want to be popular, then just be negative, because there's nothing in the world that spreads quicker than bad news. Whether it's sad news, gossip, anything that's negative in nature, people are gonna latch onto it and they're gonna share it, because we just seem to love drama. But why? What is it that's causing us to be so entertained by and willing to engage in this negativity? This is something that's really been on my mind for a while, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. I mean, what better way to live than like royalty? I'm convinced that a vast majority of society is just attracted to negativity, which is why I say popularity equals negativity. Whether you're looking at the news, whether you're in politics or thinking about the politics, whether you're in church or different religions, all over social media, everywhere you look, negativity is being spread, and again, people are flocking to it. But then we wonder why depression is up, we wonder why suicide is rising, why people seem to have no hope, or why there's just so much hate and division. It's because we're constantly spreading and being entertained by negativity. There's nothing in the world that bothers me as much as me going to church, being in a place where the whole point of it is to empower you and help you live better and overcome. Yet, while the preacher is up speaking, the only thing he's constantly talking about is the struggle. He's always talking about how hard it's going to be, or how difficult this is going to be, or how you're going to have to suffer with this. And it's just like, isn't the gospel supposed to be literally the good news? Where is the good news? Where are the messages about power, authority, me being able to live that abundant life? We don't hear that. We only get negativity. Even within politics, when you look at it, there's rarely legislation introduced to actually solve issues. It's always something else. They love to talk about the issue, or how the issue is caused, or how it's impacting people and how devastating it is. Or they like to switch it around and talk about how the opposite party views the problem and how what they're thinking about the problem is wrong. And yet nothing is really being proposed to be a true solution or to help. So it's everywhere. And then you look at the news. Again, I was visiting my mother-in-law a while ago, and she brought up the point about how she's watching the news and she's getting all of the updates and everything, but it's difficult. It's hard because everything on the news is just so depressing. It's all bad. And it's even to a point where every news station is saying the same thing. Everything seems to be programmed to just spew out all of these negative things, all of these negative images and negative stories, and none of it is positive. So think about it. You have a 30-minute news cycle, or even 60-minute news cycle. 2 minutes is spent on actual positive news and good things that are happening in society. Then maybe 5 minutes on just updates and things that you need to know about weather and traffic and stuff like that. And then the rest of that time, we're talking 20 minutes. We're talking 50 minutes, all on negative things. And we don't think about it, but it's really causing us to really soak all of these things into our subconscious. And if we're constantly filling our head with negativity and putting that within our body and internalizing it, nothing good is gonna come from that. So when she brought this up, it really just it baffled me in a sense, because I never really realized it in that way. I never really sat down and thought about it in the sense of the negative to positive ratio. And I'm not saying that we just need to ignore the negative things that are happening because they're negative. News is news, right? We need to know what's going on. We need to be aware of the things that are happening around us. But I feel like that should be a concerted effort to kind of balance things out a little bit, or at least make them a little bit more even. But when you're talking 90% negative, 10% positive, that's not good, because it's not just happening on the news. It's happening in TV shows and movies. It's happening on social media all around us. Everything that we're seeing is just all negative. So it's just sad how much negative things are being pushed, and it seems like it's being done in terms of an agenda to desensitize us and to make us be more accepting of these things. And this is doing nothing but causing more problems, causing more pain, and making the world more perverse. I mean, just think about it. Seriously, think about it. We see and hear about so much death that now shootings and killings are just becoming normal in a sense. It's like expected. And why should anything like that become a normal part of life. It's just something that we accept to be a truth and a reality in society. And that's sad. And then, I don't want to say this because a lot of people will disagree, but even the way that things within society are being hypersexualized, from, again, TV shows and movies to music to clothes, everything about everything is being hypersexualized and being more and more connected. Even the way that we interact in the relationships that we have, it all seems so hypersexualized and focused on sex. And then on the other hand, you have the drugs and the alcohol, and how all of that is just becoming just more and more extreme. Like, geez, it really bothers me how much we ignore this, because drugs and alcohol right now are really being used as a coping mechanism for so many young people and so many adults. And I don't think as a society we're talking about it enough, and how these things are being glorified, but in reality, the people are doing it as a way to mask their issues and mask their problems. And they're doing these things, again, to get to an altered mindset or altered mind space, so that they don't have to really deal with the true problems and issues that they're facing in life, the real things that they have to deal with if they weren't high or drunk. Really just doing it so much and making it so extreme now to where it's getting out of hand. Even when it comes to prescription drugs, we used to talk about how, Big Pharma was doing all of this stuff to get society hooked on these pills and stuff, but now it's being glorified within culture to be a social thing. People are popping pills and taking all of these drugs as a way to have fun. But in reality, again, all of these things that are being done that are negative and that are having detrimental effects, we're looking at it and we're glorifying it and making it something that's positive and something that's tended to be celebrated. But why? Again, this shows how a vast majority of society is just attracted to negativity. Whether we want to believe it or not, whether we want to accept it or not, it's the truth. We just are. And we're living in a time where now good is becoming evil, and evil is now being portrayed and looked at as good, where you can do what's right and you're going to be mocked and made fun of and talked about. But if you do something that's wrong, now all of a sudden you're being praised and celebrated and worshiped for doing what's wrong. The Bible tells us about what happens when this is the case. People like to talk about karma. They like to talk about what goes around comes around. And unfortunately, it's true. And a lot of people are going to be in for a rude awakening, because why are you so entertained? Why are you so engaged? Why are you so interested in evil? But I didn't really mean to go on a rant. This is just something that's been on my mind for a couple months, and it's really what prompted me to start this YouTube and start doing this, because I wanted to make videos and push out content that was positive and empowering the people. And I know this video is kind of contrary to that and really isn't doing that, but a part of that is being able to point out things like this. Like I said, we don't have to ignore what's negative. We don't have to ignore what's bad. It actually behooves us to do the opposite. We need to be aware of the negative things and the bad things that are happening around us, so it can help us understand how to combat those things. But when you're constantly filling your mind with negative, when all you're soaking in and taking in is negative, and you're becoming interested in it and engaged in it and kind of motivated and feel good by it, that's unhealthy. That's toxic. And I know a lot of people like to call people toxic, but everybody within themselves has some toxic trait, and part of it may just be you are attracted to junk and negativity. So again, we need to figure out how to rebalance those ratios. I would say right now, for every one positive thing we see or say from ourselves, there's probably 5 negative things that we see or say within ourselves. And we need to change that ratio. We need to try to reverse it if possible. So get to a place where there's at least 5 positive things that you're seeing or saying or doing to every 1 negative thing you may come across or end up saying or end up doing. And it can happen quickly. You can make that transition quickly. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out thing, contrary to popular belief. You just need to do it. So again, I present you with 2 options: good, evil, or positive, negativity. Please choose the good. Please choose the positivity. Just please, let's try to get away from the negativity. I know it's popular right now. I know it catches people's attention and eye quickly, but it's not good. It's not good. We may not be able to see what is causing to happen on the surface, but If we take a hard look at society, we'll see why so many people are so hard, why there's no love, why there's so much bitterness, unforgiveness, violence, all of these other things. So let's get rid of the negativity, or at least minimize it, and not allow ourselves to be programmed to be so interested and engaged in it. All right. But like I say all the time, if you never watch another video or hear anything else from me, just remember this: the purpose of life is to live. And what better way to live than like royalty? Peace.